with us. At PlayVS, we are honored to operate the esports competition for many of the schools in Garland Independent School District, as well as all over the state of Texas and all over the country. By the end of this year, we'll have 5,000 schools that participate on our esports program in the number of different titles. And while we're really proud and excited about that competition that we bring on a league format every fall and every spring, we also have a mission now going forward to provide other opportunities that may be a little more unique than the traditional league competitions, and many of them are represented in what we're doing here today, where we're able to have special events, shine a light on some new titles that relate to an exciting event that we all know coming up tomorrow, with the Red River Showdown between your UT Longhorns and the OU Sooners over at the Cotton Bowl. And what we wanted to do with these types of events was try to bridge the gap, or maybe find a nexus point, if you will, maybe better said, between esports and real sports. And I had the pleasure of meeting Colt a little over a year ago as you were winding down your playing career, and I explained how we have, there's really a dovetailed intersection between esports and real sports, especially when you're talking about sport titles like college football, Madden, around the game of football. It gives students and young people an opportunity to compete playing football in a different form than on the field, but they're learning the same concepts and learning the same concepts of the game. They're learning all those concepts of teamwork. So with that, that's probably a pretty good segue into a little bit of a Q&A I'm doing with Colt, who I very, very much appreciate you being here to be at our first event, previewing and honoring the Red River Showdown. We are super privileged to have, as Robert said, a UT Longhorn legend. So why don't we grab a seat here, Colt, and do a little Q&A. I've got a few questions prepared, but I also have wanted to let you know we'll just have maybe 5 minutes at the end for any additional questions from the audience. But let me start first, Colt, with just essentially communication, as you know, as a former athlete, is essential. And it's essential when you're on an esports team. It's essential when you're on an actual football team, or even just kind of gaming with your friends. So a lot of the kids here that you saw gaming before, who are on an esports team, they're always looking to be good communicators. So how did communication affect your success on the field, both at UT and your many stops in the NFL?
Yeah. First off, how you guys doing? Thanks for letting me come. Glad to be here. I'm not so sure that these scores are indicative of what's going to happen tomorrow. It's kind of disturbing, but we'll see. It's a rivalry game. You just never know. But fun to watch. And just talking about communication, the first thing I thought of was, I played in the NFL for 14 years, just retired, and the headsets, the communication from who's calling the play to me, he can communicate that in for like 20 seconds or so, but I have no way to talk to him. So all I have to do is listen to him the whole game. Just do this better. Watch out for this blitz. Make this call. And for you guys, you get to communicate back and forth to each other. So I think that's pretty cool, right? To be able to talk and communicate throughout the game, your teammates, or talking trash. I don't know. I'm sure that happens. I wish I could talk trash back to my coach sometimes. Call a better play. Maybe be better. So yeah, communication is everything. It really is. And just standing in the back watching you guys play, it's pretty cool. I'll be honest. This game has been around for a long time. I'm glad it's back, but I never one time played myself. And so everybody always asks me that question. I've been kind of afraid of it. Like, I don't even want to know what I'm rated as, or like it's just a lot going on there. I'd be throw my remote at the TV if I like threw a pick or did something dumb. Like, but yeah, this is cool to watch you guys do this.
Awesome, thank you. And so we're gonna kind of hit some key themes here with my questions that are around the core concepts you learn in traditional sport, but are also really applicable to esports. So we hit communication. So let's think about strategy and maybe more with your actual football hat on. When you were preparing for a big game like the Red River Showdown, how did you all think about strategy? What was the way in which you, maybe an anecdote of a big game when you were preparing for it? How important was the strategy you put together before the game tied to your success in the actual game?
Yeah, incredibly important, right? You can't just walk into the rivalry game and just start calling plays. Like you gotta know what you're doing. So tons of meetings, tons of time breaking down what their top third down coverages are. What do they play in the red zone? What do they play in a 2-minute drill? Like you never know what they're going to call, but you can break that down to the last 3 or 4 games. How their defenses and structures, and so having an idea of what the answer is to the test before you go out there is extremely important. I wasn't the greatest, right? You see me right here. I'm pretty undersized, kind of an overachiever, but you always have to create an edge somewhere. And I always created an edge mentally because I wanted to have an idea of what they're going to play, what they're going to do, who their best players are, what's their go-to calls in certain situations, so that I have a little bit of an edge that way, and I can sort of manipulate some things with the ball in my hands. I touch the ball last normally, and so that was always extremely important as far as like preparation goes. So I don't know, man. I don't know how you go back and look at who you're playing against, but you get a couple of their first, second down run calls. They play action. Like call some quarters. Call something that's gonna, not let them get the ball over the, over the top. Right? There's so many things that I see, and when I see like the playbooks pop up, I'm like, okay, that's where I would enjoy doing this, because you can be your own coordinator.
Yeah. Well, we're grooming Colt to be an official esports coach across our football game properties, because he said he's not as experienced playing the game. Certainly, your mind and understanding strategy and the play calls is certainly as strong as anyone. So we'll hit a couple more themes. The second to last one is around teamwork. When our esports teams are competing, they're often having to demonstrate good teamwork. And what do you think are some of the things you need to think about, maybe that were attributes of some of the best teams you were on, whether at UT or in the NFL, that you could sort of impart as lessons around good habits around building a strong team that some of the esports teams here can take away?
No, great question. First of all, I love that when I started talking to John about this, is that you guys have teams, right? You practice together, you work together, you communicate. And so, first off, starting at the top, football, in my opinion, is the greatest team sport on the planet. I mean, I got to count on 10 other guys to do their job to the best of their ability, and then I got to do mine, right? And so if you don't have that, one guy, then you're inconsistent. And so teamwork is what I've lived for most of my life. I mean, I could have gone and played an individual sport. It sounds kind of boring, right? I want to be with people, and I want to have to sacrifice some things for my teammates. I want to have discipline. I want to show up when I'm supposed to show up. I want to learn different personalities. He grew up in a different area than me, but what's our common ground? Like, how are we going to work together? So many things about teamwork that I love. And then, I think at the top of teamwork, I think it's just your selfless approach, right? What are you doing for them each and every day? Like, how can you help serve them? You got to handle yourself, but we got to all be on the same page. And so that sort of sacrifice from the standpoint of like, I'm no bigger than the team. We're all on a level playing field with the same goals. So the guy who's slacking, you got to learn to pat him on the butt or get in his face and tell him, let's go, dude. And so understanding that dynamic of being on a team is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crucial really to anything. One of the things I always value as a CEO, and having been in business for almost 30 years of my career, is some of the most successful moments we've had as an organization is when we're operating as a great team. So teamwork, whether you learn it on an esports team, whether you learn it on a football team, it's applicable to the rest of your lives. So it's really important point. So The last one I want to go to is also a tough one. That's adversity. So whether it's adversity coming in to a big game, like tomorrow we were talking about, Texas is favored by, I think, a couple touchdowns. So Oklahoma's probably feeling a little adversity. You've probably been in some games where, you maybe weren't favored, or you were in a situation that was filled with adversity. What are some advice that you could give the students from your own experience, whether it's sharing an anecdote or other just key things you need to think about to overcome adversity?
Yeah, great. I mean, listen, adversity is where you grow the most. We don't ever want to go through those periods of losses, injuries, things that pop but if you will allow yourself to be vulnerable in those situations and learn and ask questions and surround yourself with good teammates or good coaches, that's where your ability to have big growth happens. And so you always got to look for a way to turn some of those negative things into a positive if possible. And when I think of this game, when I think of Texas and OU, I played in it 4 times, and it's a game of momentum. There's so many momentum swings throughout a game, but especially in rivalry games, right? We were down 14 points one time in this game and came back, when there was almost no chance. They were ranked number 1 in the country, right? We were ranked high one year and couldn't get the ball in the end zone and just found a way to win at the end. And so riding those momentum swings, never giving up, counting on your teammates, right? Trusting the process, trusting your game plan, all those things. When you're talking about adversity, it's all about what can I do to get better? What can I do to get better? Each time I go out there, each time I play the game, each time I throw the ball around, each time I go to meetings, you got to be thinking about, okay, how can I improve? Because one thing I learned from playing at UT at a young age is there's always somebody coming for your job, and they can go out and get them for sure. So you got to be doing the things that you possibly can to be getting better and better and better.
That's absolutely cool. So one last question was more of a fun one for you to reflect on your career. Maybe, I know you went through a lot of moments. You cited a few of those there in your last remarks, but maybe just think about what was one of your favorite moments in football, and maybe share that anecdote with the group, and then we'll maybe open it up for a couple of audience questions, and then we'll get wrapped up.
Yeah, best moment. I tell you what, I know you guys are all competitors. You probably compete on the game. The thing I remember the most is the losses, unfortunately. So all the wins were great, all the bowl games, all the stuff we accomplished, but the losses still sting. And it's my fault always, because I need to go back and do this better. Wish I would have made this throw, or not turn the ball over here, not got hurt, whatever it is. But I mean, football's taught me so much. I grew up in a household where my dad was a coach, and I've just kind of been around it forever, and really tried to give it my all every single time, and been in some really cool games, and I've played in every stadium in the country pretty much, all the NFL stadiums, most of the college stadiums, overseas several times, and so football has provided a ton, and all those games are special in that you can't draw up what's going to happen. You got to be able to respond to certain situations or things that go on and figure out a way to win, and that's why I love it. But you learn the most in losses, and for me, they still sting.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it's really interesting because in my experience, folks who are ultra competitors like you and have played at the highest levels, that's often what happens. You remember the losses, they stick with you because you have that competitive spirit. But I always say in my experience in business and playing sports as well growing up, out of every sort of piece of adversity, there's always opportunity. And I think that is one of the things, if you can learn how to channel that, that can be a very helpful mindset.
That's right.
And again, whatever you're doing, whether you're playing esports, playing a real sport, or in the business world, or whatever you happen to be doing professionally.
I'll say one more thing.
Yeah.
This may not resonate with everybody, but for me, and I think this relates to esports too, is don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to lose. That's where you learn. That's kind of you learn about yourself, how I'm going to respond, what I'm going to do to make don't quit, but don't be embarrassed to fail either. Because if you're not, that's where you can just start, get on the rocket ship, because we're going up from here.
Right. Absolutely. Great piece of advice. So we've got a few more minutes before Colt has to get to another Red River Showdown event here in the Metroplex. Either from the students or even any of the adults here, any questions you wanted to ask Colt? Happy to go. Right there.
All the NFL teams and college teams, which ones did you never get the chance of playing against?
Okay, that's a great question. I did play against everyone in the NFL multiple times, but in college, I really wanted to play Florida. Never got a chance to beat those guys. But they were good all my years in college, and one of the reasons why I think I'm a huge fan of the 12-team playoff that's coming this year is because really the best team's going to win. When I was in school, it was left to a computer and 4 people in some random room somewhere voting on who should get to play, and I always felt disadvantaged that way. So I'm pumped about where college football's at right now as far as the playoff, and if I could go back, that would be the one team I'd want a piece of. No, I never played against Georgia. They stunk when I was in college. So.
That's actually true.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. Colt was telling me before, this is maybe you all know this being from around here, but he's actually never been to Norman, Oklahoma, because of the fact that the game is always here in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl, and makes sense.
Yeah, little fun fact. The last time Texas played in Norman, that nobody in this room was alive, 1922. The last time Oklahoma played at UT was 1923. Since then, the game's been played at the Cotton Bowl every year.
Yeah.
And so a lot of history, a lot of tradition. Playing in that game was one of the coolest experiences in college for me. There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, it's incredibly unique. I mean, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if there's another example. One more question. Time for one more. I saw right here up front.
So, what all the teams you ever played, which one was your favorite?
in college or the NFL? Yeah, well, college only played for one thing. That's my bad. I mean, I love playing at UT. It's probably playing at UT was an awesome experience. I learned a lot about just expectations and pressure and how to handle those. Really, UT is an NFL team, right. Not from the standpoint of like everybody there goes to the NFL, but just from the media and the coverage, and it's the flagship school of our state. There's just a lot there. And in the NFL, I would say, I everywhere I played, I had an opportunity to I experienced injuries like in every town, but it was fun, and the longest I stayed was 7 years. I played for the Washington Redskins, and so for me, my kids were born during that time, and I liked that team, and we were close a couple times to making a run, and probably stay there.
That's great. I think
they were the Redskins then. They've been 3 different names.
Right,
but.
Commanders. Yeah, they got a great team this year though with Jaden Daniels.
Yeah,
maybe 2 more. One here and one in the back. Go ahead, right up front and then the back.
Get to trade jerseys with the NFL players?
Yeah. When I first came into the NFL, that really wasn't a thing. Like you didn't really do that. And then probably about halfway through, around like 2000, I would say like 15 or 16, people started trading jerseys. So I traded jerseys a lot of times with guys I played with in college, like UT guys, or guys I didn't play with in college that did graduate from UT and then were playing in the NFL, stuff like that. So I got a pretty good collection going on of just guys across the league. Yeah. I think that's really cool, actually.
I think it's cool too.
But you got to buy those jerseys. They don't tell you that.
Is that right? Oh my gosh.
Payroll deducted each jersey you want to give away.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know
Sorry,
that.
dogs.
One more in the back.
Hey, how's it going, Cole?
What's up?
Quick question I want to ask. So 2009, Fiesta Bowl, you're down to Ohio State. Can you talk about what it was like going down that last drive?
Oh yeah, sure. That year we felt like we should have been in the national championship. We had beaten Oklahoma, who was playing for the national championship, and so we were a little salty, going into preparation for Ohio State. And I turned on the film going into the bowl game, start that practice, and I realized real quickly, like, Ohio State's the best team we've played all year. Like, these guys are very good on defense. It was James Laurinaitis. It was Marcus Freeman, who's the head coach at Notre Dame. It was, you'll know so many guys off of that team. And so, like, we had to figure out real quick, like, okay, we can't be mad about the voters and everybody who kind of left us out. We gotta get prepared because this team is good. And they really hit us in the mouth the first half. I mean, we went in. I threw a pick right before half. And so I came in and, like, you gotta respond. You talk about adversity. You gotta figure out, okay, like, come on now. And we came out the second half, played really good, got the ball late with a chance to go win it. And as a quarterback, like, that's the moments you dream of, right? You want the ball. If you don't want the ball in that situation, then you shouldn't be out there. And they had been pressuring us a bunch, blitzing and everything, and so I kind of had a feel for what they were doing and the situations. And in a 2-minute drill, you just got to be ready. And so the touchdown throw I hit to Quan was something that we had prepared for all year. We probably hadn't hit it maybe one other time early in the season, but it's just a sight. It's kind of replaced the blitzer, and I knew if Quan got underneath his guy, it was cover 0, so that means there's no safeties in the back, right? So hit him, and he made his guy miss, and we kind of walked off with it, and it was pretty special moment.
That's so cool. Well, I think we got to wrap up for now, but really appreciate those questions. Appreciate, Colt, you being here so much.